Alright. Wow, drunk in liquid nitrogen. It's quite fast, right? The fact that every villager's marching in the top of walls presently laid his or her crossbow aimed right at me likely had something to do with it. It's me, Asahi of Keihei, and this man is Takashi. He's the reason I'm able to get back here. There was a deep, ugly silence as the guards seemed to look about themselves. What about others? What happened to them? I had precisely enough time to wonder what the guards meant by others when I noticed Asahi's face filling in grief, and then to my horror I realized that she had gone to fight the underworld forces. She had not set off alone. They were all turned to darkness. I was the only one who was able to escape. Oh, that's quite sad, right? I couldn't make out the expression of the guards, thanks to the light shining up from where they were and sheer distance between us. But I could see the way they seemed to be looking at each other and speaking amongst themselves, and what I could see gave me a bad feeling. But as soon as they continued to mutter among themselves, I glanced down at Asahi. Those features were seized with shame and sorrow, and I found myself wondering what exactly she had gone through before we had met. But even more importantly, her strength seems to wane before my eyes, leaving me even more concerned for her welfare. I'm sorry, but Asahi's hurt and need medical attention, so if you could just let us in. I took a tentatively step forward even as I spoke, only to very nearly fall over when an arrow whizzed down and struck the ground merely inches from where I placed my foot. Yuck! Forgive me, Asahi, but I can't let you back inside the village. Completely taken aback by this unexpected statement, I looked up and focused on one of the guards, a powerful built man who was aiming a crossbow similar to Asahi right at us. Alright. What? Zen? What are you talking about? Can't you see that she's hurt? She needs help. I don't enjoy doing this, but I can't open the gates to Keihei village. Forgive me, Asahi, I can't let him back inside the village. Not with him present. Who? What, Zen? This is crazy. Can't you see? Takashi is not a duckling? Maybe, but he could be an underworlder. Once again, I was taken aback by Zen's words, but at the same time I found myself seeing how what he was saying would make sense from his perspective. That's true. If they don't know who is he, right? Takashi might be an underworlder, right? Because they didn't know about the underworlder in the first place. From what Asahi had told me, the people of her village and every other village in the overworld had learned a very hard lesson about the dangers of trusting a stranger. And even as I glanced down at Asahi, I could tell that she had not even considered the possibility. But he's not an underworlder. I could tell that Asahi was flustered and had no idea at that moment as to how to explain the possibility that I wasn't even from their world. And as for me, my shock was fading and was giving way to annoyance. I had already been through a great deal and had been subjected to tremendous turmoil as a result of everything that had happened, and had pinned my hopes on getting to this village. And here we were right outside the gates, and they wouldn't even let us in. But wait a minute, if I was an underworlder, why would I bring Asahi back here for help? To trick us in opening the gates and making it easier for your ducklings to break in and overwhelm us. Grounding deep in my throat, I found myself once again unable to argue with the logic behind Zen's suspicion. Making it even worse was the fact that according to Asahi, they had only seen 3 underworlders, and when they were doubtlessly more where they had come from. And on top of that, my clothing definitely marked me as being different. Even though I only had pants and shoes on. Oh, so he's topless. They were different enough from a standard garbs of the people here that they could be recognized as being alien from them. But I'm not one of those monsters. Asahi, you don't think I'm saying I'm anything like one of them, do you? Of course not. Zen, please trust me, he's not an underworlder. He's already risked his life and gone through great pains to get me back here. Why would an underworlder do something like that when their forces already outmatched us? To win their battle that much easier. After all, the sort of tactics they used to amass their forces in the first place. That's true. And you know what? If I'm Zen, I'll never let them in. Never. I was unhappy about this guy, but there was no arguing with his logic. And while I was getting increasingly annoyed, I still remembered that this guy was basically doing his job and trying to protect his village. Getting mad at him or trying to argue with him wouldn't accomplish anything, but giving him more reason to leave us standing around outside where Asahi was still hurt. And so I racked my brain, trying to come up with a different angle, something I could use. Wouldn't you at least let Asahi back in? Look, I could set her right outside the gates. I could set her right outside the gates and then step away so you can get her back in. Then you wouldn't be letting me in at the same time. Zen raised an eyebrow at this, but before he said anything, another one of the guards moved to his side and whispered something into his ears. But even as they spoke, Asahi placed her hands upon my shoulder. Takeshi, no, you're not one of them. I know that. You know I'm not an underworlder, but I know that. But I don't think we are going to be able to convince him of that. Besides, you're hurt and need help. So are you. Wincing at Asahi reminded me of my numerous physical injuries I suffered that day. I promptly sighed and gave her a smile with a stiff upper lip. Yeah, but hey, it's better that at least one of us get patched up instead of neither of us. I know, but... Liana? But wait, I don't understand. Now, I was really getting confused. Asahi was acting like I wasn't even there anymore, and someone else was there in my place. But before I could give any real thought to trying to figure out the latest headache dealt to me by this bizarre world, Zen spoke once again. Boy, what is your name? My name is Takashi, sir. If you are sincere about allowing Asahi to be treated, then we will allow you to deliver her to the gates, as you so offered. But keep in mind that we'll be watching for any signs of treachery, and the instant you deliver Asahi into our doors, you are to retreat from it and remain within our view at all times. Is that understood? I considered this, feeling as least relieved that Asahi people weren't going to abandon her. Of course, that still left me in a lurch there, but half a loaf was better than none. True. And besides, perhaps me doing this will at least help to show these people that I wasn't their enemy. As I reached this conclusion, I returned my focus to Asahi, who was still having a conversation with someone else. If you could just don't examine him, yes, I know how important she is, but Liana, could you please, can you just... At this point, Asahi's face fell in regret right before she let out a deep sigh. Alright, if that is your final decision. Looks like Asahi could, speak to the villager, most probably the head villager inside the Keihei town, because, the head villager could speak to anyone, right? I tried to explain to the head of our village that you weren't an enemy, but she wouldn't risk the safety of our people for a complete stranger. The ways Asahi winced made it clear that I could read this right, but seeing her fresh shame in her expression made me feel guilty as well. And while I was definitely upset about the cold reception we were getting, I wasn't about to take it out on her. Look, let's get you taken care of first, and while you're in there, maybe you can find a way of convincing whoever you're talking to that I'm not a bad guy. I'll try, but Liana has become very cautious since the war with the underworld started. And, I probably should explain, as I mentioned before, the village head can communicate with anyone under their care. Nodding to this, I started towards the gate, making certain to keep an eye on the guards on the off chance that any of them got itchy trigger fingers. Right, I got that. Listen, there isn't there any way for me to prove that I'm not an underworlder? Some kind of, I don't know, a test I could take? Dawn is capable of sensing the power of the underworld in anyone, but she can only do so from a very close range, which means that she either have to come outside or we have to let you in. Unfortunately, she's the only one of a kind we have right now, so Liana wouldn't want to risk her in any way. Makes sense, I guess. Makes sense. With that, I turned my attention to the formidable walls that surround Kehei village. Like everything else, they were made up of blocks, but there were a set of blocks that was clearly a different shade than the rest of them. They were situated in such a way that it made it clear they were doors. Okay, so I made my way towards them, all the while aware that at least a dozen crossbow trained on me at all times. I'm sorry about this. Smiling at this, I heave Asahi a bit more. My ass more tired than I wanted to admit from having to support her slender and supple figure form as long as I had. Drawing my breath as I adjusted my balance to compensate. Hey, I don't understand. You just do me a favor and try to convince them to let me in as... My foot caught a rug that I hadn't even seen, sending a flash plane through my flame, knocking me off balance. Crying in realization, I hurriedly struggled to compensate even as I staggered towards the gate, but Asahi was just heavy enough to make it more difficult to recover, and so I stumbled forward with increasing speed until I realized I was about to smash into the gate with Asahi and my cranium about to take the brunt of the blow. Okay. At the very last minute, I managed to pivot my heels and fell against the gate with my back towards it, which still wasn't pleasant, but it was better than the alternative. Hey, are you alright? Yeah, sure. Just another bruise to go with all the rest of them, and boy, what are you doing? Wincing at the sound of Zen's voice, I looked up from my uncomfortable stand with my back at the gate and saw several crossbows aimed clumsily at me. And while our proximity to the wall made it difficult for me to really see anything, I could definitely imagine Zen's unhappy expression. It's alright Zen, he just tripped, that's all. Yeah, like you care. After everything we've been through, seriously, why couldn't they just open the doors? Why can't... As I was just thinking about this, I felt the gate supported me moved away. Still dependent upon the gate for support, I was completely unprepared and was unable to do anything but cry out in surprise as I fell backwards to the ground, with Asahi issuing a cry of shock. Boing! Alright, she fell down too. Oh crap, missed that. Also a print screen right before she crashed on top of me. Okay guys, I think this video is quite long already, so I think I'll end this here. So thank you for watching with me part 5 of Burokku Girls, and I'll see you in the next part. Alright, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later, bye! Whoa. Did you get scared? Well, subscribe to my channel, and I promise you, you'll never get scared again. Or watch more videos, and you will be able to find your peace in life.